Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dustin Capps. We've got a busy day, so let's get right into it. We're going to cover a lot of information. First off, I want to talk about kinesics. Kinesics is nonverbal communication and body language, what a person is telling you with their body rather than their words. Okay, that's one thing we want to pay attention to. They can show us several things, what they're intending, what their actions may be, what they're after to do. Okay, their facial expressions can also tell us a great deal. If you're able to see their face, are their eyebrows raised up? Are they happy? Are those emotions going to travel throughout their body? Things are typically going to go in sequence and follow each other. Do they have the pain muscle engaged? Are they tense? Are they focused on something? What are these types of things doing? Proxemics is the next thing. Proximity goes along with kinesics hand in hand. Okay, the first thing I want to mention though is that proximity negates skill. What I mean by that is you can have all the skills in the world, Gracie survival tactics, hand to hand, maybe awesome on the range. If you get within somebody's proxemic bubble, that can negate a lot of your skill. So that's something we want to be aware of, whether it's maintaining our weapon, our communication system, our life, whatever that is. Proximics can also show us relationships. A person's feet are typically going to be oriented to what they are focused on. A person's feet may be pointed away from something, and they keep observing over their shoulder. They're trying to make it look like they're not. Or they're pointing towards the exit in case they're busted. They want to be able to beat feet out of there, but they're paying attention to this. So look at a person's feet where they're oriented. Proximity will also show us the relationships of a group. They may be looking to somebody for instructions. That may also tell us who the high value targets are. Who are they interested in? Who are they focused on? Okay, so proximity, proxemics, and kinesics can tell us a great deal about what a person's intentions are. That can also lead us to the most likely course of action and the most dangerous course of action. We always want to be thinking about those things. There's no minimal or no short answer for most dangerous course of action. We want to keep that in mind. What is the most dangerous thing that can happen with what's going on? Those things can give you context and relevance as to what's going on. Atmospherics is next. Atmospherics is the sights, the sounds, the smells, the tastes of an area. What is the feel for this area? We've got a busy day. A lot of important people are going to be here. A lot of different agencies. A lot of civilians are going to be out here. It's going to be hyped up in a bright environment. Okay, so we want to look for shifts in the atmosphere. It can be if a crowd's gathering around something, crowd may be pushing away from something. That's a shift in the atmosphere. We want to be aware of that. Human nature is to get sucked into that. We don't have that luxury of doing that. You've got to stay in your lane if you see something like that. You see it, call it up. Communication is key with all of this stuff. If the person whose lane it's in hasn't seen it yet, let them know. Let your higher know. Stay focused on your area. It's very important to do, and it's hard because, again, human nature, you want to get sucked into what's going on. So next, we're going to talk about the combat multipliers. First, we have tactical cunning. That means if I'm attacking this area, how am I going to do it, and what would I need to do so? What are my choke points? Where can I pile people up? What are my avenues of approach? How can I get in? How can I get out of the area? Where can I cause the most damage? Those are the types of things we want to be looking at. Where would I put a sniper or a shooter elevated? How would they get out of there? How would we get to that person? Those types of things. So look at it from the eyes of the attacker. Next, we have tactical patience. Now, again, human nature comes into play. So the more of this stuff that we know, we have to enforce in ourselves. You may see something's going on. You may want to get pulled into it, or you see somebody that's not quite acting right. Instead of immediately going over there and either detaining them or contacting them or something, have some patience, let it play out, and see what they're doing if you can. Again, we're going to call it up, let command know, let everybody else that needs to know that information. But if we continue to observe, we may unravel more of the plan. Find out who they're working with, who their intended target is, things like that. Next, we want to talk about guardian angel. Do we have each other covered? Can we see each other on the ground? If not, can somebody else? Do we have overhead observation looking down, covering those areas that we may not be able to see on the ground? Those types of things. Next, we have geometries of fire. Now, this is not just in the literal sense of overlapping sectors. It's that as well. What is our escalation? Which weapon systems do we have? Things like that. But also with communication, we use what's called the PACE plan. Primary, alternate, contingent, and emergent. If I see something, I need to call it up, or I need help, I need to call, what am I going to be using? My radio first, then maybe a walkie-talkie. If those two go down, then what's next? Is it my cell phone? If all three of those go down, is it a whistle? What is our PACE plan for communication? We have to have all those things covered. Same with first aid and treatment. Where's our primary casualty collection point? Who's doing triage? Where are they going? Those types of things. So there's a lot more to it. Next, we have Good Shepherd. Good Shepherd is essentially talking about rapport. As we know, rapport is power. We can have a lot of control over that. Typically, everywhere you go in the world, any state, any city, any country, people are all the same. Typically, 80% are just trying to live their life, get from here to there, live their daily life. 10% want to hurt you, rob you, cause damage. The other 10% want to help in any way that they can, the outstanding citizens. So be aware of that, and we can certainly shift that 80 to bigger numbers by how we act. So that's a big thing to keep in mind. And how is our rapport in this area? That's something that is good information to know. Lastly, we want to talk about the bad algorithm. Baseline plus anomalies equals decision. Baseline is the normal. What's the normal for this situation? Again, we've got a lot of people, a lot of agencies, a lot of important people going on. So again, it's going to be higher than usual or more active than usual. Establish that baseline. What are people going towards, going around, things like that? What's the natural flow? Once we establish a baseline, then we actively search for anomalies. Anomaly is simply something out of the ordinary. Now, anomalies will typically fall above or below the baseline. That means that there's something there that should not be, or there's something not there that should be. This is a busy day, a lot of stuff planned for a long time. So if there's a telephone pole with 5 workers at it, right in the middle of things, and you know there's not an emergency work order out, that might be an anomaly of something that's there that should not be. What are they doing? Are they setting themselves up using urban camouflage to potentially do something? So those are things to be aware of. If something's not there that should be, that's also cause for alarm. If you know that there's usually that hot dog vendor right there in that same spot for 20 years, knows everybody, that's how he makes his living, and now he's not there on one of the busiest days of the year, what's going on? Is he simply sick, or did somebody pay him to be gone that day so they could be in his area? What's there now? Those are anomalies. Once you get 2 to 3 anomalies observed, that's when we come to a decision. Decision, we typically have 3 paths to take. Lethal force is first. Now, we say that first because it's easier to de-escalate than to escalate, okay, for preservation of life. That doesn't mean just immediately kill somebody, not at all. After that, we have capture. Again, may not necessarily be in the literal sense. It can be if needed, but you may capture their image and you send it up if these resources are available, run facial recognition, something like that. Or you capture that information and again, send that up to who needs to know the information, let them disseminate what your actions will be. The last decision is simply contact. You make contact with that person if you can while staying in your lane. Your area is covered. Simply contact that person, ask them how they're doing, ask them basic questions, get a sense of their baseline. They may give you more information as to it doesn't seem right, so now we do need to escalate this. Maybe you have to capture and so forth. Or, hey, they have a legit reason for being there, and you've now established your baseline. My name is Dustin Capps. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.